Hello, we're very, very happy here on the rooftop of Pride House today to have Dame Kelly Holmes, Nicki Symmons and Poppy Olson for a roundtable. This is super exciting. We're going to get straight to it. Hi guys, very nice to have you with us today. Thank you so much. This is a massive honor. I'd love to start with you, Kelly. If you could introduce yourself, that would be beautiful.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm Dame Kelly Holmes, double Olympic champion from Athens 2004 in the 800, 1,500 metres from Great Britain.
How do I follow that? Nicki Symmons from Ireland, former international hockey player, and I'm part of Compy Proud, which are here as a partner with Pride House. So really delighted to be here and have these two wonderful athletes beside me as well.
My name is Poppy Star Olson, and I'm an Olympic skateboarder from Australia.
Hi ladies, thank you so much for coming and joining us today for this women's only panel. What does it mean to you to be on the rooftop of Pride House today?
Well, for me personally, I think it's great. You know, I've never been part of this kind of setup before, even during my Olympic career. And I just think it's wonderful to have a focal point for people to come, enjoy themselves, to feel free and safe. And it's really nice to see it happening, especially on an Olympic moment, obviously.
Oh, thank you. Did you by any chance participate in the online version during the Tokyo Games?
No, so it's all very new to me, looking into sort of Pride House and what is now available for athletes. Obviously, there wasn't anything when I was competing, so it's just wonderful to see how it's progressed and how so many people are engaging in this sort of open environment and this connectivity that you've got within Pride House.
Super exciting, and it's only the beginning.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much. Nikki, what do you think?
Well, I have two hats on, I suppose, as a former athlete, but then also with Compy Proud, and just seeing what we've done and with Pride House is just incredible, and it's gone from strength to strength. And I think over the years as well, there's been 12 or so of these throughout different games and also Commonwealth Games. So, but seeing it here, like where the public can see as well, we can bring athletes to the boat. Yes, we're on a boat. We can bring them to the boat, but also we want to then extend that later on and develop into maybe bring it closer to the athletes, because I still think that many people don't know about it. So there's still quite a bit of work to do, but from what it means to me today is just having this space here that is here, and people can come and just be themselves and really like encourage them to come out as well while they're competing. Is one of the things we want to do as well, make sure that they can compete 100% themselves, which is really key. And if we can do that for one athlete at a time, it's going to be very precious.
Absolutely. I think this is a major subject as well. We've actually had this in the last few weeks with the interviews, asking, you know, what could be done next in LA. And we have the handover with the LA team today, as you know. And this is one of the major subjects that we spoke about yesterday. It was how can we get the Pride House, the next Pride House, into the Athletes Village in some way, and to find out how we can actually do it in a really fun way as well, you know, without pushing it and actually making it more into a beautiful invitation. So that's a very good point, yeah. Thank you. Poppy, what do you think?
I think it's awesome. I've never really been a part of anything like this, obviously. And as a queer athlete, it's something that I'm really passionate about, and it's so cool to just be able to come here and have other like athletes come here, and it's open to the public, which is really cool too. And I think it's just a really positive space, and I would love to see it in the further Olympics. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. That's awesome. For us, it means a huge amount. It really means a lot that you guys came in, because before Paris kicked off, before Paris 2024 kicked off, we had a few interviews planned, we had a few activities planned, but everything's really taken off. Something happened this year where you guys were so wonderfully welcoming, and you would all come back and speak and just tell us about how everything's been going for you. That's also the point of this panel today. So it's very exciting. I'm looking forward to finding out what your experience has been. All three of you has very different experiences as well. So I'd love to start with you, Dame Kelly Holmes, with all the experiences that you have, over a dozen medals for Great Britain and England. I mean, that is a massive portfolio. Thank you so much. What was it like as a woman running when you were running? What was it like before?
I suppose back in my era of not being an openly out woman, it's I think it did have an impact on my career, even though it didn't necessarily have an impact on all of the success I had. I think it certainly did on my well-being. And when you kind of feel that you are hiding something, or you're worried about judgment, or you just can't feel happy, then there's always going to be that underlying stress and anxiety and worry, which I think in effect does harm your well-being, your health. And so if I look back and reflect, I think, you know, I had 7 years out of 12 years had injuries, even though I won medals as well. I think that I could have helped myself be a lot more relaxed and, you know, take off some of those strains. From a sports perspective, of course, there wasn't as many equality in sport. I mean, when I first started, women only did the 3,000 metres instead of the 5,000 metres, for example. You know, women didn't do the pole vault. You know, it sounds like I was back in the... It sounds like I was literally so ancient, doesn't it? But yeah, it sounds like it was like 1924. But this is how...
Olympics ever.
Right? But this is how much
That's
it's
insane.
changed so quickly.
Yeah, it's true. It seems obvious to us today that everything should be, you know, like half and half. If anything,
Yeah.
it's wild because we've been having these discussions this week about like, okay, what do we do for trans athletes? What do we do for non-binary athletes?
Yeah.
But indeed, in the 90s and in the 2000s,
Yeah.
equality was actually the fight more than anything else.
Yeah, equality's always been the fight, and there was never any openly gay athletes during my career either. So there was no necessarily role modelling, and role modelling meaning that, oh, they're okay, they're happy, so you feel safe to do it. You know, and especially in Great Britain, there was nobody at all. So there is a sense of when people can see it, we all know that visibility is key, and when you can see it, you can be it. And I think that's what's changed. You know, you come into 2024, and you have something like this Pride House. You announce there's nearly 200 openly out athletes. So there has been tremendous change. But there needs to obviously be a lot more discussion, because some will not come out while they're competing,
perhaps,
or they can't because of the countries that they compete for, or the careers that they might potentially lose, or the brands that they're still worried about. So there's still a lot more work to be done, but we're in a better place now, which is good.
No, that's really good. I think, as you mentioned, the very important statistic, we have almost 200 openly gay athletes. The majority of them are actually still women. It was the case already back in Beijing, where I think 10 out of the 11 were women, and one was actually Matt Mitchum. What's important here, I think, is I'd love to know, I don't know if you have an opinion on this, but any ideas why there tend to be more women comfortable with their coming out than men?
It's just the same stigma, isn't it? It's the same thing around men feeling, maybe like in a lot of sports. You think about football, there's a huge amount of racism and homophobia still in that sport, and very, very few footballers, maybe probably one or two in the Premiership. I mean, it's huge, and again in Great Britain, Premiership is like massive, and you're telling me that there's no one who would represent the community. That's just not real. But if you go into a sport where the fans absolutely destroy you from your own being and sense of belonging, and then the problems that you might get that come outside of the sport, your family, your home life can be affected by it. They just don't take that risk because it's a huge industry where a lot of high-profile footballers and rugby players get more from it. So they leave it until they've left because it's a safety net not to do it in their sport. And again, we've got to change that. And there's also a little bit of a male bravado as well. You know, some guys are in like this macho, or I've got to act all macho and to be on a par with other guys. But I just hope more people break that mould and actually have the ability to say, do you know what, this is who I am, and I'm still a good footballer, I'm still a good rugby player, because that will then lead to others wanting to do the same.
Absolutely, and there are safe spaces like Pride House where they could always come and hang out.
Yeah.
We spoke to Jérémy Clamy yesterday, who is actually the first and actually only openly gay rugby player in France, and he was like, there's 2,000 of us. I can't be the only one. And yeah, he is the only openly gay one at the moment.
Yeah.
And, you know, there are lots else who are on the list or who have other friends in the area, and they know each other. They know who else is also out, but they know that they cannot out their friends.
Yeah.
So we have the same situation as well. There's a big responsibility, I think, a lot at the moment, and that's not easy. But hopefully that changes slowly, bit by bit.
I think it is changing slowly, isn't it? You know, with the stats that you say at the moment. Because if you go nearly 200 are openly out, that means double that to who maybe are not. So actually, there is, you know what I mean? There'll be a lot more now because a lot more visibility. So if you go from my career, no one was out. Now there's 200. That means there's probably, I don't know how many across the board. I mean, Great Britain have 10,500 athletes, and we know there is a big percentage of, with hockey in particular, and women's soccer in Great Britain, and now boxing. They're all slowly coming out, and it's a lot of the younger generation because, of course, the younger generation are living in an era where diversity and inclusion is spoken about it far more than it ever was before. But there's a lot of people that have come through history who have led that way. And you just need that gap to close of those older people that are still in sport who have had this stigma in their head because of the era we've come from. But, you know, it's great to see now the new era who are more relaxed with it, being the voice for those to come as well, you know. So
sure.
Just generational change, but at least we're in a better place than we were before.
Yeah, I can just pop over to you, Poppy. I'd love to know a little bit about these generational differences. I came with you, I was very lucky to come with you to the skateboarding finale for the ladies, and I believe that 2 or 3 of them were actually 14 or 15 years old. What's it like being a young lady in sport today?
It's very interesting. I think skateboarding for women has always been a little bit younger, but like now is like with each Olympics passing and the more and more it goes on, the age is just getting younger and younger. It's really cool to see so many like girls and new women popping up at the skate park and stuff, because when I started skateboarding, I was the only local girl at my skate park for I think about 3 years. So it's really cool to see more and more faces and just girls getting inspired to do it, because I think when I started it was such a like male sport and there was not many women at all. So just to see how inclusive it's becoming, and especially with the equality and prize purse and sponsors, because it was not like that when I started. I think my first pro event I won and I got $8 grand and the men got 30 grand or something like that. But just now to see that it's almost equal now is really cool.
Really exciting.
Yeah.
Aside from sponsors, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm going
There's a lot. You're going to go there now. All right, going into skateboarding.
I'm getting right to hockey quick.
Who do you think is one of the... So we have Tony Hawk, obviously, as a key idol in skateboarding. Who's like a leading female icon at the moment in skateboarding? Aside from yourself, of course.
There's lots for me. Maybe for like my discipline of park skateboarding, Mimi Noop is one of my good friends, and she's someone that I look up to a lot. She really kind of paved the way for women's skateboarding when there were not many women in skateboarding. And Cara Beth Burnside was another one. And, you know, they were just doing it because they loved it. There was absolutely probably no opportunities for them and nowhere near the same amount of money or sponsorship. And so they were definitely big role models for me. But it's really interesting to see because there's so many younger girls getting into skateboarding now that have no idea who they are. So it's definitely interesting, but they were a really big part of skateboarding, I think.
I love it. Thank you so much. I'll come back to you in a second. Nikki, tell us a little bit about your experiences in sport. Again, very different, I think, to Kelly and Poppy.
Yeah, well, so equality-wise, I think I was in the sport of hockey, and I think hockey was way more female sport, especially in Ireland, as we have the likes of rugby, we have our own sport, GAA, which Gaelic football and hurling. So that's mainly more men. So we have our own sport in Ireland. Nobody knows about this. We have a stadium for 80,000 people.
Then to visit this.
Nobody knows. It's a big secret.
It was a secret, now it's not anymore.
Not
Thank
a
you.
secret anymore. But don't go watch it. No, I'm joking. So hockey was quite small, but then also more female. And even when I started on the national team, we had more money than the men's team. As in, I didn't get much money, but I mean, we had a little bit, which maybe paid half your rent for the month, but just half, for a bit of food. But yeah, I think we had more money, so we had more sponsors because people were behind it more. I don't know why. It was just the way it was. And now it's become very equal. So all the money goes into like one pot. We're one big sponsor, and it's split up. But it's also split up into the disciplines or the ages as well. So it's not a lot of money. So there's not much in there. But for women, I think growing up, like, it was always quite big when I was in school. It was always on the newspapers, you know, the school finals and all of these things. So we would see it, but then it kind of dropped off. I don't know what happened. Other sports picked up. Other sports maybe were better at marketing. Rugby got really big during that whole course of my career as well. So that took over. And so it was quite an interesting time to be an athlete there. You're fighting always to be like, why aren't we on TV? Why isn't it in the newspaper? And I think we still are doing that. I think the Olympic Games here, I think it's 50-50 now, right? Athletes. So that's amazing. But when I was growing up, it wasn't like that, right? And when you talk about like role models and things like that, I mean, obviously one of them sitting here beside me. I'm Irish, but obviously the Great Britain is always so close to us, and we would have always watched Dame Kelly Holmes running and being inspired. So but yeah, there wasn't that many. Like, even so, I'm 42. I'm going to say it. So I'm kind of in between. Like, we had not much. No, I'm not going to go here. We had not much, but then we had. It's so different now, right? You just see women out there doing everything. Like, it's just like Poppy's just said. Like, we can't forget those people, though. Yeah. And I think we had this conversation the other day that sometimes those trailblazers do get forgotten by the younger generation. We need to bring that back, and especially when we're talking LGBTQ+. Yes, okay, there's 200 now, but when Kelly was competing, there was none. And even in London, there was only like 10, 12. I don't know, that's not long ago. But for me, if I talk about for coming out, it was like I had, in my sport, hockey, I was very lucky to be in hockey because there were many women out. No men, but many women. So for me, it was quite a... I wouldn't say easy, but it was definitely easier for me to just come out to them and be like, okay. They're like, yeah, great, whatever, you know. But then family's different, friends outside of hockey's different, sponsors different. But at least I had that community in my sport that was like very open already, and I had those role models close to me, like some very amazing hockey players that were, when I first started. I was very young. I was only 17 as well when I first on the national team. So yeah, it was like, the people close to me were helping, nothing outside. But that's why when I was 30, I decided before I retired to come out publicly, even though everyone knew, but to the rest of the world who didn't know me on TV, did that because for me I needed to be more visible for the next generation, to then be like, okay, it's okay, you know, and it's okay to be not just with your teammates out, but out to everybody.
We spoke about this also because your daughter was actually here with us on the rooftop the other day, and I could see how important that was to you in your eyes when you knew that she was just over here and she could see what Mum was doing. Yeah. So that's a beautiful moment, I think.
Yeah, because she's also never going to see me play because I've had her so late in life. But this is also a woman's thing, right? We could probably talk about it too. Like, when do you have a child? If you want a child, like, obviously you don't have to, but like, as an athlete, it's like, oh, when's the right moment? There was never a right moment. And even then, after being an athlete, I had to like start my career again. So I was like, it's not the right time now because I need to like get my career going again after being an athlete. And then so ended up being like 40 when I had her, or just 39. So there's so much to talk about around that as well, which we don't. I know the Paris Games has been a lot better. There's been space for women to have, you know, but they have to compete having just had a child. Like, it's crazy.
I think this Games has been great for families. There's been a real focus on women who are having children, or we had a shooter. She got silver, should have got gold. She'd just had her child, and her child was there. But we had there's a fencer who's pregnant, fencing. You know what I mean? So if you think about it, that's a big change, you know. And there's been a lot more focus on the families coming to watch, which again wasn't part of it. Because you're right, so many women had to make a decision about having children later in life, which then has its complexities for them, of course. But then the alternative was to give up the career that they wanted and always wanted. So that's changed a lot. More conversation around that, I think, would be great for women to say that we're supported. But then that has to be a support network around the Olympics, which I know Alison Felix from the USA, she set up a whole nursery set up at these games, and she's like multi medalist for the USA, a sprinter, their most decorated sprinter, and it was important for her to have the Olympics and the IOC focus on that support for women.
Yeah, I mean, just think about it. I had my daughter, 2.5 years ago, and I couldn't move for well, I also had really bad hips, but that's another story. But I can't even imagine getting back into Olympic fitness after having a child. Like, it's insane.
So shows you, doesn't it, right?
We need to show that. We need to. It's possible. It's like, and we need to support those women as well, because, you know, and also get the allies of the men, because they also need to understand that, you know, how hard that is to do. To be back to physical fitness like that.
The subject of getting support from men, so this is something I also wanted to bring up. Open question for everyone. How important is that in your particular sport, and do you think that could change? Is that something that could still change?
It's quite cool if we want to talk about skateboarding, because I think that's quite a new sport for women, and it just shows that there has been a lot of support with the men, because obviously, you know, it's kind of almost like it was their thing, and now women are there and like they're really supporting. And I think I just watched skateboarding. We went to the final as well, and you're just such a great family unit. Like, you're all like, even if someone beats the next person in their score, they're like, yeah, give me a high five, and like, this is amazing, you beat me. Like,
so cute.
It's so cool. It's so cool. Kelly was like, this is not right, not normal for me. But I
all
think
finished on the first podium at the end, all three of them.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Cute.
It's so cool. But I think you obviously had a lot of male allyship there as well to help you to get through that and to come up through the ranks and have more women there. In hockey, it's quite the same. Like, we're quite equal. Like, we have, especially in the European Hockey Federation, where I'm from Ireland, so we're in the European Hockey Federation, and it's a big thing for them to be men and women together. Now we have, like, even our technical delegates will be working on a men's game. Some women will be working on a men's game. Even now, umpires, we're mixing and matching men, women for umpires. So there's a lot of change in that as well. And hockey is kind of one I would look to as well if you wanted to see that, because it's much more progressive than it would be in football, for example. We really are trying to, but you see it in rugby now as well. There's some referees that are doing that. So there is a lot of change, but I think it's a little bit slow for my liking. Yeah.
I mean, there was kind of like stereotypes when I started skateboarding that was not going to be the case, because it was just all men. But I think when my parents used to fight who had to take me to the skate park, because they just had this like idea of what skateboarding was like, and I don't know, like kind of drugs and alcohol and a bit of like misfits, but they slowly realized that like taking me that everyone's like so supportive. And I grew up skating when I was 8, like in this little pink helmet skating a bowl with like 20 like 40-year-old men, and it was just me and them, and they were all so supportive. And I think because there wasn't many girls when I started, and there's still not as many as the men now, that for the most part they all seem to be pretty inclusive, which is really cool about skateboarding. But I think that's a really big part of it, is having the support from everyone. But I think I got pretty lucky in skateboarding, because it's kind of just like everyone feeds off each other, and that's the whole point of skateboarding. It wouldn't be fun if no one was friends. You couldn't build off each other and have the support to land a trick.
Yeah, no, I was just saying the other part of allyship is that support around brand awareness, around more identity on or visual representation on television and things, because men still do get far more in a lot of sports and a lot of countries. They get a lot more representation visually. They're in some sports you still have the inequality of prize money. Tennis, they had to fight for that not that long ago to get the same money for Wimbledon, for example, the biggest tennis, one of the biggest. I'm sitting in France and they have the French Open, so I mean, one of the biggest. In Great Britain, the Lionesses, so they play for England, who won the European Cup. They're massive in our country now, and they've had to fight nail and tooth to get even close to any form of equality, and they're never going to get there in terms of their wages, their prize money, their brand awareness. One day they will. They're on a lot better footing than they have, but they've had to fight and show success, far more success for the England team than the England men's team have done since 1966. And they win, and they still are nowhere in terms of their wage level, or you're talking millions and millions and millions of pounds a week for our guys, and you might be now on a good wage of £100,000 a year for the top footballers. So there's still, whilst yes there is more opportunities to do more sport, there's still that whole, can I do it as a career? How long will that career last? How long is it going to take me to build up my pot of money to be able to live effectively, to make it a full-time career, a job? And then I've got a fight for branding space. And when you come back from the Olympic Games, for example, do your countries see you now as a hero, as a female who can do other things out of it? You know what I mean? Because that actually is, now we have this social media and the media that we do, a lot of people are brands. If you do well and you look cool and whatever, really cool brands are going to go to skateboarding, really cool brands are go to a personality in our sport, or somebody that looks really good. But if you've achieved 20-odd medals, it might not if you don't get the TV minutes, or the pieces in the paper. So it is still a lot of way to go.
I think that's going to be my little last question for you guys today. Young ladies who want to start in sport today or tomorrow, what is like a message of hope that you can give them? We're almost there, but there's still a lot to be done. But what's a little message of hope that you could give them?
Well, I think back from my career, and I think, Poppy, you mentioned it too, the first skateboarders was for the love of the sport, so you have to enjoy it. I think, honestly, yeah, okay, you want to have a career, yeah, you want money, yeah, you want brands, but you have to enjoy it, because if you're not enjoying it, there's no point. And you also need to be 100% yourself, if you can. I know there's countries that we can't do that, but there's also places that they can come to help with this. I think if you do that, then things will come. Like you just mentioned there, like they'll go for the personality. But if you're holding something back, you're not your personality. And we spoke about this the other day, that you felt that you could have been more, if you were more yourself, you would have been even more. Well, yeah, we know now after 2 years that there was much more there that we didn't see when you were competing. Exactly. So I think the message is that, like, make sure you're enjoying it and you have the right people around you, and it will come then. Don't force it, it will come. And just make sure you take those opportunities when they come, though.
My answer, I think, is pretty similar. That one of the biggest parts for me, like for my whole career, is just to have fun and really try and enjoy it. And I think with skateboarding introduced into the Olympics, it's changing a little bit, and it's becoming more mainstream, and there's lots of younger kids that are sometimes maybe more pushed by coaches or parents. So I think if there's any like young girls getting into skateboarding, it really would just to have fun and start and remember why you're starting it. And it can be a little intimidating, I think, because there still is so little women and girls at the skate park. But confidence is a big one, to just have confidence in yourself and try and find a little friend group and, really enjoy it too. That's a big one.
Yeah, I mean, they've said it all, really. Other than I'd probably say on a real positive that we are meant to be 50-50 in terms of men and women here. That means there is far more female representation and visibility of what's possible, what sports are there, what you could be inspired by. Look at somebody, watch a sport that you never ever heard of before and get the fire in your belly, or something that you have started off with, realise that you can reach any level and you can start really young in some sports and actually go to quite a mature age in others. So there's something for everybody, and I think that's what I think this games in particular has showcased, is that actually there's something for everyone. If you have passion and you start off young, you get a bit of fire in your belly, you can go wherever you want to go.
Absolutely. Speaking of something for everyone, Poppy, can you show us your phone case, please? Yeah. We're going to do a quick zoom on the phone case.
So this is I did a collab with this phone company called Casetify, and I think I did about 6 cases and a bunch of laptop cases and other things, and I just wanted to have one of them sort of represent me in a way. It's just a whole bunch of different women and celebrating diversity and different bodies, and yeah, I felt that was closer to what I don't know.
Perfect for the panel. We all want one now.
Thank you.
Gorgeous. Thank you so much. Ladies, thank you so much for coming in and speaking today on the rooftop of Pride House. This was an honor, and I think we could have gone on for hours and hours, but indeed I have just noticed the time. So thank you so much. Okay. Well, thank you very much. That was the 4 of us for Pride House, and we're very, very happy. Thank you very much.